it's the proudest day, the proudest time, and the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all we said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.
Welcome along to Krunching Gears, the Rally Podcast. We're back again now after a short break. It's that time of the week, but before we start, we'd like to pass on our condolences and our thoughts with the families and friends of Aaron Kelly, Darren McGuire, and Jean McDonald. The loss of any competitor is a heartbreaking reminder, of the risks involved, in rallying. Yet, as we've seen so many occasions in the face of adversity, the way the rally community pulls together, we're all united in this shared passion for the sport, and then admiration that we hold our heroes. And so, Connor, it's been a difficult couple of weeks, but I suppose, in some ways, the show must go on.
Indeed, Kevin. Look, it has been a tough time, and absolutely echo the sentiment. But yeah, rallying continues, and at the weekend we had a busy rally schedule.
Yeah, in this, we're now season 2, episode 21, and in this episode we're going to look back at the Down Rally. We catch up with the top 3 drivers there. We catch up with them. Speak to is Cathan McCourt, Desi Henry, and Jason Mitchell. Also catch up with the Northern Ireland champion Jonny Greer and his co-driver Niall Burns. And then we also get a chance to hear from then Paul Woodford, special stage reporter. They were over covering the Down Rally, and then finally 2 of the competitors then in the Micra challenge. We keep talking about this challenge going from sprint to sprint. We talked to Dominic and Damian there, and then finally Imokilly was on Sunday as well too, and Rob Duggan and Mikie Galvin. We often hear about mates go rallying. This story really typifies that, but again, more of that later. But Connor, also at the weekend we had WRC. Estonia was on at the weekend, and Kelly Rovenpera, he started to look formidable again.
He certainly did. It was an event of if you want to take an event that typifies the highs and lows of rallying, Estonia was it, and the highs was Rovenpera. What was it, 15 out of 21 stage wins. Nobody could touch him. He was completely in his element and neat, tidy, wasn't on the door handles, didn't seem under pressure. Phenomenal. And he's 22.
Yes, it's scary. It really is. Yeah. And Perel Tannock, before the event ever even started, they had to change the engine, got a 5-minute penalty. We could debate the rights and the wrongs of that, but rules are rules, and they're there for a reason. And do you get into then drivers, teams able to fit qualifying engines? You could go down a whole rabbit hole of it. That's the rules. They were applied. That's just an unfortunate side of the sport.
Look, in fairness, M Sport aren't disputing the rule. Tannock's not disputing the rule. It was there. It was a brand new engine, fully tested. First event, everything seemed fine. They come back from scrutineering. The engineers felt there was a bit of a misfire. They changed everything they could change because it was already sealed. And one run, and Tannock was fastest on that first run. And then the thing was spitting flames at the end of the shakedown stage, towed back to service. They tested it, couldn't identify anything, and thought better change it and risk the 5-minute penalty. And it was so sad because from a championship point of view, Tannock needed a very strong result in Estonia to have any hope. And from M Sport's point of view, I suppose a bit of a, it was his home event. They wanted to reward him. They wanted the fans, to see him. And they'd put a lot of effort into this. They had gone, used a local rally as a test, the 10 days beforehand or whatever. And, just heartbreaking for them.
For sure. And even you could see Tannock, even in the lead up to the event, he was very sort of out there on social media. He was doing his bit to promote his home event. And it was such a positive news story, and for it just to turn around so quickly. But that's rallying, as the saying goes, unfortunately. So that's just a very unfortunate side of it. Fantastic, as you say, Rovenpera, 22 years of age, The only worry in the Toyota team is whenever Oshie is out, there's Evans. It just seems to be that wee fraction off the boil. Neville and Lappy are really stepping up to the plate in that Hyundai.
Yeah, Evans is still not 100% confident or comfortable in that car. He just hasn't gelled with it. The Rally 1 cars, they're different. The weight's different. The braking's different. How you use the hybrid changes your style of driving, and it just hasn't adapted to it 100%. Whereas Neville and Lappy, we're seeing them really coming together with that car. Huge improvements. Again, some of that's down to Lappy and what he's been doing and the testing settings he's been coming up with, that Neville has been, he's been sharing with Neville, and Neville's been copying. And what we saw, which was unusual probably to every other round for the last year and a bit, Neville was on it from day one. Normally, he takes a day to settle into the car and get the settings right. But they seem to have, for the first time in a long time, come from testing to have the settings absolutely spot on from first stage. And that's been an unusual scenario for Hyundai.
Yeah, I do believe Lappy, I've said it before and say it again, I'm a huge Lappy fan. I think Lappy has definitely, put in a cog into that Hyundai team that was, it's hard to believe that, to say that it was a cog missing, but it's brought in something that was missing in that team. Was Tannock and Neville, were they pulling in separate directions? I don't know. But Lappy has brought something that's bringing a cohesion to the team, and it seems to be really working really, really well for them.
Absolutely, and I think Cyril has brought something as well as team manager that's maybe bringing that team together. And there's been a few other recent appointments from other teams. They've recently poached a senior person from Santalock, so they are still building that Hyundai team, which is great, because we all had a little bit of a worry or concern, when we looked at last year and they couldn't put a manager in place.
True.
Was the team, what was the commitment? But the commitment seems to be genuinely there to rallying. But yes, they're coming together, and certainly Lappy has more than done enough, I think, to give the team something to think about for next year's championship, that they can't turn around and say Neville's their number one driver.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's the first rally, and I don't know how long, that every Rally 1 car that finished and not under Super Rally as well too. So that it has to be positive as well.
Well, not if you're out Tannock.
Oh, well, that's true.
I got as high as 8th place, and he couldn't climb any higher unless somebody went out, and nobody went out.
Yeah, true. And then, the Rally 2 battle, absolutely phenomenal again. And our own Josh McElwain, another fantastic result. Probably people are, scunner at us listening, but Motorsport Ireland continues to go to strength to strength. He finished in the top 15 overall, didn't he? I think.
He was top 16th overall. 16th
overall,
and sixth place in the WRC2 Challenger class.
Yeah.
And there was 30 something WRC2 cars in that event, and Josh is coming in 6th. It's incredible, genuinely. And only his second time in Estonia. When he went there last year, he finished 19th overall, so constantly improving.
For sure. And maybe not the best weekend for our JWRC competitors, but Wall still come away with a string of fastest times, still leading the championship, and it's still a very positive place for him going into the last round.
Absolutely. Last round in Greece in September, and will, considering the issues they had, it was a great comeback. And what we have to remember with the JWRC is they get points for stage wins, so it was imperative that he did clock up as many as possible. But again, it's a three-way battle now going into the last round, and if I remember correctly, I think there's extra points on hand as well for the last round, so that adds a bit of extra drama to it. For sure. And Eamon didn't get off to the best of starts. He had the trouble on the second stage, but whenever he was going, the times were coming, he's getting closer to the guys in front, and then I think it was a mechanical issue that robbed him of the finish at the end. But it's all it's all positive. He's putting in the mileage, he's getting there. I think we have to remember this is a 2-year program. We probably we started to dare to dream when he won the second round. But we have to remember, Eamon has done very little rallying in comparison with so many other guys of his his contemporary peers there. So what he's doing and the level he's at, I think he's doing a fantastic job. He is, and you're right. Look, it is a 2-year program. This year is about getting experience under the belt, on the JWRC events, and it is all about experience. Like if you look at Will, this is Will's 3rd year of the same championship. So experience is key to getting results and learning and what's needed for each of the events. And each of the events are different, and they require a different challenge, and throw up a different challenge to the drivers as well. And heartbreaking for him. And on the last stage, mechanical failure. So it's just very unfortunate for him and Connor.
For sure. And then closer to home, say we had the Down Rally there at the weekend. I was up at that on Saturday. We were promised biblical rain, and we managed to avoid it. It was fantastic, But once again, the two motor clubs come together there and laid on a fantastic event. 8 stages, me personally, I think that Hamilton's Folly is one of the best stages in the country, but maybe that's just with the photographer's eye with all the jumps and bumps in it. I don't know, maybe. But I think it's a class event, and earlier on the week I got a chance to catch up with the top 3 from that. That was Cathan McCourt, who won the rally, then Desi Henry, and then Jason Mitchell finished 3rd. And then after that we roll into then Northern Ireland champion of 2023, Jonny Greer, and his co-driver then Niall Burns.
Aye, definitely. No, it was a great event, and I suppose there was good competition there too, so it made for a good day's racing. So no, look, the weather was a wee bit on the typical side of I suppose what you'd call Northern Ireland. So no, look here, everything was we enjoyed the weekend, and I suppose from a point of view, everything went 100% my way, and had no issues at all. So you need all that to go your way to make an event and win an event. So it's probably the first time it ever happened to me. So everything clicked, and we got it over the line. So it's not often it happens. So we'll take it when it does happen.
Yeah, you talked about and you've been out of the seat there since it was Cathan was your last rally. So even to come back after 4 or 5 weeks out of the car to get back onto that pace, that gives you good confidence as much as anything else as well.
Aye, it does, definitely. Hey, I suppose the rest is probably sometimes a good thing, It kind of gets your head back in the right way of going again, and I suppose I had a wee weigh-in, so I suppose getting back into the car clears the head again for a lot of weeks. And no, it was definitely a good event. Hey?
Yeah, and Desi, the Down Rally, to get the chance to drive the likes of Hamilton's Folly, the other 3 stages. Hamilton's Folly is probably one of the best stages in the country. It must be a pleasure to drive them in a R5 Rally 2 car.
Yeah, Hamilton's Folly is a stage we always love to do here. Obviously, it's a bit of a roller coaster of a stage. You're up and down, and the car seems to be off the ground more than it's on it. Then you've obviously the famous Hamilton's Folly jump, but that's only one of probably 8 different jumps in that stage. So no, it's a very, very enjoyable stage, and to take the Rally 2 cars over it now, the capability of them cars is phenomenal, as we all know. So no, it was a great event, and the organisers did put on a very, very professional event. It was I think every stage more or less ran on time, and it was it ran like clockwork. So that coupled along with the great stages was a good event. Just the weather wasn't just as kind, but we're well used to that at this stage.
Yeah, and considering what the weather forecast was given, I think we got off quite late, because I know on the way home we had floods down coming out of home. So in some ways we're lucky with the weather, in other ways, as you say, it made it probably very difficult for you guys picking tyres.
Yeah, it seemed to be, when we were looking at the forecast on Friday, Friday during the day, it was given, 90 and 100% chance of rain, and we all thought it was going to be a complete washout, but there was heavy rain overnight, and it sort of, a lot of places under trees, the water sort of lay all day, maybe didn't dry, and there were sort of scattered showers across the day, but generally it wasn't too bad up to maybe the last stage. But the last stage definitely was eventful. We obviously quite a gap in front of us to Cathan. We were never going to catch him, and with a fair enough gap behind us, so we'd nothing to really play for, which is more difficult actually. I'd rather nearly been a race, but we had more moments in that last stage, than we did probably the rest of the rally. So, but no, the weather does play a big part on it. But unfortunately just didn't get bone dry stages, but it would have been great to get them. But that's the way it is.
Yeah, and like Jason, from your point of view, like good to get back on the pace again and coming away with a podium. You have to be over the moon with that.
Yeah, Kevin, to be honest, I was very surprised to get third. I wasn't going on the last stage. I wasn't, we sort of knew that we were picking a few seconds off Jonny here and there, on the last 3 or 4 stages. But we going on the last one, there was 9.5 seconds in it, and we sort of looked at it and said, it's maybe a bridge too far. But to be fair, when I was sitting on the line, when I seen the rain, I knew the stage was slippy. I said, I'll give it a bit of a go here to see where we go. But it was nearly more for Ewan Thorburn behind me, because he was only 5 seconds behind me. So it was more to maintain me fourth than get the third, because I thought it was a step too far for us. But look, we went in there, Kevin, and I wouldn't say we were going fast, because we were actually fairly surprised. But obviously the boys had took their foot off the pedal a bit, and it probably looks better from my own behalf, that getting a stage one, because Cathan had really the rally won, and obviously Desi, as he says, had nothing to fight for. But at the same time, I was sort of surprised at Jonny, because I sort of thought that it was, I knew he had the Northern Ireland Championship to worry about, but I still didn't think we would take that sort of time out of him. So, well, thanks to Jonny, he let us in. So, but no, we'll take it, Kevin. Like, we haven't had much fun rallying this year. We've struggled all year. So, look, I'm happy to be even on the consideration for them sorts of places at the moment. So, no, happy with that now.
Yeah, because we all know like rallying's as much about confidence and what comfort in the car. Like, so to take that stage one and at the very end has to give you confidence now going on to the next event.
Yeah, it does. Look, I suppose I'm been struggling with confidence, and even you can see that at the start of the rallies. I'll be a wee bit slow out of the blocks there, and it's nearly always a confidence thing, that, because you have the gremlins going on in the back of your mind. We know what's going to happen on this corner and that corner, and for me, at the start of the rally on stage one, I had a massive moment on a really fast speed over a jump, which I didn't think I would. Actually, I didn't think there was a 5 right over Max Crest on the jump, which probably bad notes. I put it flat out, and it's definitely not flat out, so it's not. I'll tell you, I wouldn't want too many as close as that now. So it sort of set us back a wee moment, so it took me a few stages to actually settle down again, and go again. But no, look, it was good, and even like for Paddy, Paddy was saying, like now it's actually, it's easier, it was actually harder to go slow. It's actually, we were trying really hard and we were getting nowhere, but now it's, it seems to have turned itself around again here now, and we're starting to settle down. So hopefully, we know the boys at the front go very hard, Kevin, like, so, but like if we're in there and thereabouts, we'll be happy enough to be there at the moment, so we will.
Yeah, excellent. And Cathan, like you've had your days, like you've had your struggles. You know what it's like to have those bad days, and the confidence starts to ebb a wee bit. Like like if you were in Jason's shoes, your day will come basically.
Oh, definitely. Hey, I suppose it took a bit longer to come for me than most people, but I was making a lot of mistakes, and I suppose just down to. Like I suppose you used to go to Jason's only rallying the last 2-3 years, and it'll take him another 2 to 3 years even to learn some of the stages and different things that happen on stages and happen in the rally car. And hey, like all that knowledge, it eventually builds up, and I suppose from a point of view, it all built up and went the right way for me at the weekend. So, but look, taking away from that, like Jason's going hard there too. For a man that is only out, this last 2 or 3 years, so he can't be too sure on himself either. You know what I'm saying? So, and again, like Desi would tell you, like it's very hard to get a win over the line. Like if you're having a bad run of luck, like sometimes it can go on for years instead of a rally. So no, look here, definitely you have to keep the head up, and I suppose from a point of view, I would say you get off to a bad start in a rally, it is very hard to get your head above the water again. So sometimes you just have to, you get bad rallies and good rallies. So you just have to keep ploughing away, as the man says, and hope for the best.
But to finally get that first one, you've had your one in the forestry and one thing and another, but on a closed road event, that's your first outright one. As you say, it's been a long time coming, but at the same time, it has been coming. You've been knocking at the doors. You've been, even the Tarmac Championship. You've had, good stages and even good days. It's great to see it all come together finally to reach your goal.
Oh, definitely. Look, I suppose at the start of the year we went to Galway and kind of didn't put much pressure on ourselves. And after the first day, we were second overall down there. And then I suppose we made a mistake on the start of the second day. It's just a slippery corner and made a mistake. And I suppose it just goes from 100% to zero very quick. So, that's just rallying. I suppose you just have to get on with it and get over it and keep going on and trying to I suppose try to benefit yourself with I suppose the positives from every rally that you've done, and never it all amounts to a win. Then it definitely gives you that bit of a lift.
Sure. And Desi, you've had the highs and lows of rallying too. This year, maybe you haven't had the outright ones, but the consistency is coming back again too, which is great to see.
Yeah, we had a fairly good year last year. I think we had 6 or 7 ones last year, and this year just seemed to be we struggled to piece everything together. But a wee bit like Cathan was saying, you need, it's very rare you can just go out and win a rally. You need, you're sort of back there saying confidence drives confidence. So you need to just keep building and building and building and try to improve on things, whether that be, yourself, the car, your pace notes. This game, there's so many things it takes to go right. You're not just relying on yourself, you're relying on the car and 1,000 different bits to hold together to get to the end of the rally. So it's difficult, as a difficult sport, and it can be a very, very cruel sport, as we've seen, particularly last year a few times for ourselves. But no, look, I think we've sort of found our legs a wee bit more now with the Saturn. We did, all but the first admit we struggled a wee bit there at the start. Just finding a setup and something that I was comfortable with. It's quite different to what we had before. But no, I have to say at the weekend now we made some went in a certain direction setup, and it seemed to have worked. The car was nice and comfortable. In Donegal we went out the Friday and the dry, and we were going fairly well. And we weren't that far behind Sam for getting onto the podium on the Friday evening, but when it turned wet on Saturday, we struggled with the car. We couldn't seem to drive it at all on the wet. So we knew obviously Saturday was going to be wet, so we put a wee bit more emphasis on trying to get a wet setup. And to be fair, it did work. The car was nice to drive and wasn't snappy or fidgety, which is half the battle. And getting back to what we talked about earlier, where what Jason was talking about, if you don't have confidence in the car, and you start to lose confidence in yourself, and you sort of start thinking, what am I doing wrong here? But no, when you start and get the car dialed into what you want and you know what it's going to do, and I always remember John Hogland years ago saying, the car should be an extension of yourself. You should know exactly what it's going to do at any particular time. And I think that's when times start to come and you start gathering trophies then when you get that all right.
I remember we talked before, and as you say, if you're starting to think, that doesn't, it's a bit ab lib, but if you're starting to think you're losing time, if it's a natural flow, if everyone's working, that's when you're in the zone.
Yeah, it should be easy. When you're going out on a stage and you're having to really, really work and try to think about where the time's at, that's generally when you're not going well. When you get out and it's all flowing and you get to the end of the stage and your time's thereabouts and it feels easy, well then that's everything's clicking and you've got the car in the right zone, you're in the right mind frame, and that's generally when you'll go out and starting one rally. We're still chasing our international now, but we'll hopefully maybe before the end of the year we'll get one of them ticked off.
Excellent. And Jason, even for the guys are saying, you're only going rallying now 2-3 years to be in that zone with those guys. You have to give yourself a lot of credit for that too.
Okay, Kevin, but I enjoy rallying, but at the same time, I'm only in it to race. I'm not like I've said that from the start. I'm not somebody that can just, go on and sit down in the field. I'm not. It's not me. I have to be racing, and even if it's like as I said from the start, it doesn't need to be just at the top, but at least have something there to go for. Like even like Saturday, that's what I need to keep me sort of keep you interested. Because it's one of the things that was sort of which the season so far. One of the things that was really getting to me was not actually having that feeling that you had to go onto a stage and really go and do something. I felt that I couldn't. I felt it didn't matter if I had been driving for the next 10 years, could I go fast? Now, and like as Paddy says to me on Saturday, I'm a wee bit dumbfounded here. He says we seem to be going easier, but our times are faster. It's really strange. And it is like that. I was nearly spending more in physio with my two arms than I was rallying there for a while because I was holding on to the car that hard. So, but no, it does seem that we're getting over it now, and we're getting this polo and the way that sort of suits. And I have to say, I think it was, the stages on Saturday, like, they are class stages. In fairness, like I was just. Even when you come away from it, you go to different parts of the country and rally there, and don't get me wrong, there's some super stages all around the country, and it's something that I want to make sure I try and get around all the good ones, but when you go to the down rally there at the weekend, you go from Buck's Head, where it's really fast and flowing, and nothing, not too many totally flat out corners, but a lot of nearly flat out corners, which keeps you really on your toes and making sure that you get your lines right, and you get your notes right. You learn a lot from that sort of stage. And then you go to Hamilton's Folly, where it's all jumps and dips and bumps and places that you have to try and take every inch out of the road, because the car is going to go off the ground and maybe land on the lower side. So you have a lot of different aspects to that. And then you go to the likes of Gregor Lock there, which is the last stage, which was unbelievable slippy. Like it was. We were in Sligo the week before, and Sligo was like a grippy tire in comparison to the way that Gregor Lock stage was. Like it was just like we come out of a junction one time, and I even said to Desi, we come out of a junction and we're going up to another junction, and we're going up the straight in fourth gear, and the car just starts going on the limiter, and she just lit up the wheels in fourth gear going up the straight. And I was sitting going, is there something broke or something happened? And I did hear a few people saying that their drive, they think they broke a drive. There no broken drives. The road was that slippy. She was just lighting the wheels, in the middle of the street. So, so from an aspect of learning, and trying to get through your rally like that, where, you get the grip on one stage, and even Hamilton's Foley is, mostly fairly grippy as well, and then you go to, the Gregor Lock. It sort of gives you a real understanding of, the different elements, to controlling your temperament, because you get a bit carried, you get a bit carried away thinking that you have grip, and then, very, very quickly, you can be lying on top of that, and, that's, that sort of sometimes justifies you're not overcommitting, to you make sure it's right,
Mm-hmm.
But I do know too, from, obviously in the position that I'm in at the minute, sitting back, that, and I'm going to have, you can't sit back, and work all this out, because the boys are gone, so very quickly after 3 or 4 stages, maybe even 2 stages, you're out of the top end. So, that's something that I have to work on now. Like I have to stop treating the first pass like my third pass of a recce, because I'm just not sure that I'll land myself on the jump flat out again. But that's something that I'm going to have to concentrate on going forward, to be at least within a shout, to try and go for something at some stage.
For sure. And like Desi, we know how good a place Irish rallying is in the moment. There is no, you can't bed yourself in now. You can't take it handy now in the first stage and expect it's like it's right from the flag drops to the to the end of the last stage. Every corner, every time the wheel spins, it's losing you time.
And that's just the way it is at the minute. I think just as I think we talked about before in the Rally 2 category now, there's so many people in the class. So, historically you maybe had a few people that have been competing for a Rally 1. Now you could have 10 people competing for a Rally 1. So all it takes is one or two of them people to get the Weetabix that morning or the Cocoa Pops, and they're like flying. So no, you can't sit back. You just have to go for it from day one, and that's quite hard to do if you're not in the car day in day out. We're all talking here. We've all jobs, and we've all this is a glorified hobby or a sport for us. So we're not full time rally drivers. So it is hard just to get into that mind frame where you're going from work on a Friday and jumping into a rally car to drive 120 mile an hour down the road. So it is. It can be difficult, but as Jason says, if you don't do it, your rally could be over within the first or second stage. Because it is so hard to close time now. If you're 10 seconds behind somebody, it's incredibly hard to find. You can maybe find 1, 2, maybe 3 seconds, but anything more than that is a real struggle. But that's just the level Irish rallying's at, and it's brilliant. I enjoy it.
Yeah, and like Cathan, like from your point of view, like it must be some buzz, like being in there and and mixing it with seconds with the guys. If like a few years ago you'd have been watching on the ditches, you'd have been watching them from the ditches. Suddenly you're in the middle of it all. Like it must be a great buzz.
I definitely, and I suppose I'll go back to what the boys were saying there too about the commitment. Like we went to Galway at the start of the year, and there was like an 18-kilometer stage, and there come about 8 of us out of the 18-kilometer stage within 4 seconds of other, and every one of us made our own notes, and times you think to yourself, like we're all in different sets of pace notes that we've made ourselves. We're in different cars, and there's 4 seconds is a blink, over 18 kilometers, so that's how tight it has got. Used to be, back in 07, 08, 09, whenever the world cars were in the era of world cars, they could have pulled 10, 15 seconds a stage back there, like Nesbitt and them boys. They were, but now in the era of rallying that we're in now, and it's not just the R5s. Like you go to the Mark II Escorts, you go to the Class 11, Class 13, they're all the same. They're within a handful of seconds all there, and here it's great to see. It's great racing, and look, long may it last. But it definitely Irish rallying has come leaps and bounds in the last probably 5 or 6 years. So, and look, if it keeps up what's going on at the minute, like this is what makes it more interesting too. Because if somebody makes a mistake, the rally could be over. They take a spin, they take a something stupid, and you're trying to play catch up the rest of the day. Like, so it's as I said from the start, you have to push from the start hard, and you have to get your confidence there. And if you don't have that, in my eyes, you'd be nearly better sitting on the sofa at home because I suppose from the point of view of myself and Desi and Jason and whoever else, like we're only going out for one reason, and that's to win a rally. So we're not going there to waste money, and we're going there to try and win. And I suppose there's 20 boys behind us and in front of us trying to do the same thing. So, but no, here generally it's a great sport, and look, I suppose we've had the tragedies in the last lot of weeks, and it's sad to see that too. It does give you a wee hit, like start of first stage and on Saturday morning, the nerves was there, like you're thinking Jesus. And especially now, from a point of view, I suppose I have a family, and so does Desi, and you're and Jason there, you're thinking you kind of have to take that into consideration too, so it takes the edge off you a wee bit, like so.
Yeah, like that's again, that's something that has to play in your mind. You've got all these responsibilities. Even that you're coming out of work on a Friday evening, you're thinking of what you were dealing with on Friday evening. To be able to clear your head on the Saturday morning when the boy says go, that takes bravery, that takes balls, that takes preparation to get there too as well, Cathan.
Definitely, I look here, I suppose we all work and with our businesses, and we're trying to you're trying to get read up on a Friday evening to go rallying on a Saturday, and sometimes you just have to switch the phone off because it's, but no, definitely. I think, if you're going to a rally with a head full of stuff, there's no point in being there because, like it was like myself there. My woman was due before Donegal, and I just didn't want to go because I knew it would have been in the back of my head, just in case. So seeing every year going to try and race them boys in the front, and you can't have that stuff in your head. You just need to clear your head, get into the car, and as bad as it is, you nearly need to forget about everything else. Do you know what I mean? So, look here, that's kind of just the level rallying has got to. So, I suppose if you're trying to win, that's where you need to be.
Mm-hmm. And like Desi, like, I suppose you would echo them sentiments too. Like, yes, it's work and everything else, but when you get into that car, you have to kind of forget what was going on yesterday at work, or any kind of issues you were having. It has to be clear the head. I'm here to do this job now at the minute.
Yeah, I'll say the faster boys are going now and the faster the pace, the more you have to forget, work on a Friday. You have to, draw a line on that, because ultimately, if you're not completely concentrated and you're not completely focused on what you're doing, then that's when mistakes can happen. So for me, about like Cathan, unless I was going to an event where you feel that you're completely prepared to go and you have enough sort of a headspace to that you can go to that rally on the Saturday morning and just be completely clear. Well, then there's no point in going unless you can do that. So, and I say the more competitive the thing gets, the more that's the case. And for me, the best thing I can do and try and eliminate the nerves that Cam was talking about there is just to be prepared for it. But it's just getting time to do that. Ryan's getting to a point now where you need to be looking at a DVD a week before or maybe longer before an event to try and be competitive. With as Cathan touched on there too, we all have families and we all have young children to look after and wives to keep happy. It becomes increasingly difficult to fit everything in and to do it right. But look, you just have to find the time, and you do. Whether it be getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning or working at something to 12 o'clock at night, you just have to get it done, and that's the only way. For me, I want to go rallying if I feel that I'm prepared to do it.
Yeah, because and you need good people around you then to allow you to do that. You need your wife to be understanding and all that too. And that all's important. And Jason, from your point of view, having a good man beside you on the notes and all that too. Paddy's there. Paddy is the most relaxed, chilled out guy. He's there to do a good job at the same time. But as good, I suppose you need somebody like Paddy there with you to kind of bring you down or talk you up when it needs to be done as well.
Yeah, very much so. Kevin, regarding Paddy, Paddy's been excellent, and even when we were going badly there, he really showed how desperate he wanted me to go fast. He was really trying to, push me on. But when I wasn't comfortable, when I wasn't comfortable in the car, I couldn't actually do it. I couldn't actually overcome. Whereas maybe 12 months ago, I landed there in the field. But now, I seem to have found a more slightly sensible approach. So I've sort of, I took it to where I could feel that I could, and when it wasn't working, I could really see the frustration for Paddy, mm-hmm. and for both of us. But what I will say is, on Saturday, it was even good for me to see Paddy being happy, because we genuinely, even when we drove off, we didn't know we were third. We after, Cathan got out when they were sort of celebrating the Cathan, we didn't know we were third. We knew it went quickest, but we didn't know we were third. And even the joy in Paddy's face, it was great to see, because he suffered with it as well. Mm-hmm. He's definitely he's had to sit on there when I'm driving slow, and that's hard work for him, So no, very good, and the bravest navigator in the country, I would say. Was Paddy, because no matter what sort of maneuver I do,
agree with that.
know, and you know, it's just funny, Kevin, when you're saying that about good people. Desi's very lucky that he has Niall there to do all the work as well at home while he's away rallying.
I think everybody needs an eye on me. So it does.
So, like, I suppose we should start wrapping up the chat now. Like, Jason, where heading to next? I know you want to go on to the gravel soon, but do you see like an Ulster rally or something coming up, or Cork? Or?
Yeah, Kevin, I suppose for me, look, if I tell the truth, Kevin, I've been dying to get away to the gravel this long time. So I have, but I've just, it's pure thranness to get through this blip here, so it is. So, no, I think, you know, it is a toss-up between going to Ulster or Cork for the gravel, but I think I will stick to tarmac, you know, because when we go to Ulster here now, this is going to be a race worth watching. So it is, because, you know, not so much from my own point of view, but, you know, when you see Formo and Cronin and Callum and Josh and all the boys, like you're going to see a few of our own boys being, you know, that at the front are going to go even harder than they have been, I believe, because obviously they're wanting to prove a point as well. So look, I want to go there and just see how, you know, if I can find a wee bit more now, you know, how far am I away from them? Do you know what I mean? When them boys are at their very, very best, you know. So, and I'm sure Desi and Cathan was probably fairly similar. But I think after that, we'll stay away and get the gravel tires on. Yeah, and try and get a bit of dust res, you know. But look, we'll probably try and go to Dav or somewhere like that then after that.
Cool. Desi, what's your thoughts then? Where to next?
Well, I'll not be for Cork now. I'll be drinking San Miguel now when enough of them boys are taking to the stages for Mallorca next week. So no, I'll give it a miss. But plan is to go to Ulster. Afterwards, I think maybe a bit of a change of strategy for me this year. I'll probably stick to the tarmac. Maybe do the last 2 rounds of the national championship or something like that. Look, just something I want to keep working on the sitter and keep working on setup, and, you know, set myself up a wee bit better for next year. I think gravel might just be a wee bit of a distraction to what we're trying to do this year, and I think we're going the right direction. So I think I'll stick with it and stick to the tar.
Cool. And Cathan, from your own point of view, where do you see yourself heading to next now?
Well, to be honest, I wasn't going to do much more tarmac in the car, but now I'm probably, we're looking maybe at going to Ulster as well. Just kind of more, hey, to see where you're at, as Jason says, kind of with, you know, with them boys like Callum and Josh and I suppose Formax and whoever else comes over with the WRC, you know, yourself. But no, just, hey, basically get another run out now in the car, and then we're actually going to attempt the RAC in the Ascot. So we'll maybe get a run or two out in the gravel then and her, you know. So excellent. No, here, look, there's a couple of good events coming up there now. The Bushwhacker, I suppose, is like everything, and you have Lakeland and Dava, and there's a good event in Cork too. So hey, there's plenty of rallying if you can get the time to go and do it. Just that's the.
Yeah, I think that was always the target from the start of the year, was to try and get another one under the belt. And it's always easy at the start of the year when you're making these plans. It's always turns out to be a bit more difficult once you start into the season. But we made a good start and worked from there. And okay, we're running a few problems in round 3 in Shackleton, but apart from that, we've had a very good year, a very successful year, and it's been quite a good run.
Yeah, like, you know, the Down Rally was on there at the weekend. Your home event, as much as you wanted to go and push on for the one, you had to drive, I suppose, in the back of your head thinking, I can't do anything silly here.
Pretty much. We sort of thought we'd just go with the weekend and just drive the first stage comfortably and just see where we ended up. And if we're close to the race, then we could try and stay there and maybe try and go for a result. But I think the first stage, I think we were 10 seconds off or 12 seconds off fastest time. And after that, it was just kind of, okay, well, we don't have the pace for them today, so we'll just sort of stay where we are and try and get round. And that was the main aim for the weekend. Obviously, we knew the rally win was going to be a difficult one because we had a few quick guys in the more powerful Class 11 cars. So we knew that'd be a struggle. But once the first stage time started to come in, we thought, well, I don't really fancy trying to drive at that pace to try and match them. So we'll just try and stay where we are. And that was the plan, and we followed it well enough most of the time, apart from one small incident in stage 4. So, but yeah, we tried, but we got there in the end.
Yeah, and like now, like, like I'm sure stage 4, we all heard about your trip into a garden. I wouldn't think that was in the pace notes.
No, it definitely wasn't. And I kind of had to head down the notes. Only's like, oh, I looked up. I was like, are we not supposed to be going left? Oh, no, we're going to go ahead. So, but we were lucky enough, we got in and obviously just make the plan right, get out. And then right, as soon as we get out, right, reset, at the end of the stage. We know that's how easy these conditions can catch us out today. So it just reassured us, look, we don't need to go on a big push today. We have the bigger picture in mind. That's how easy we could get caught out. So, no, we're very thankful to get out of there, I can tell you, and get to the end of the rally.
That's for sure. And like, Jonny has won the drivers' championship, but unfortunately, like with because you weren't sitting with him at the first couple of rounds, you didn't win the co-drivers title. But I'm sure you want to tip your hat to your what would you say, esteemed colleague, your mentor, your go-to guy. Paddy won the co-driving championship.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, I missed Kyrgyzstan because I was doing Rally Qatar and obviously job scores coming into play. But no, look, again, if you can lose a title to someone, why not be one of your best friends? And all, it's delighted to see Paddy get the title too. I think it's the second time to win the Northern Ireland title as well. And obviously, he won the gravel title last year at Desi too. So I guess you could say, he's the king of the North now when it comes to co-driving. So I'll have to settle for being king of the Donegal co-drivers. It'll do me like.
And like, I suppose he has got a good few years on you as well, so you have plenty of time to catch up with those titles as well.
He has a lot of years on me too. We don't factor that in enough, So I'd say 20 plus years, like, to be fair to him.
At least. But like you had been having a great year. Yes, like Killarney, I think you had your bowler, but other than that, it's been a good steady year now.
Yeah, it's been a good steady year, and it's just actually adding up now. Me and Jonny have done nearly 14 rallies now, I'd say, since last year, and now it started off so well in Galway, and the circuit went well. Obviously, we had a wee bit of glitch in Killarney, but no, like the pace has been there all year. Like, I guess, like everything else, just the luck. You need a lot of luck as well in this game too, and unfortunately, just some events there hasn't been on our side. But look, we've got to this stage. Johnny's got a Northern title, the Tarmac Championship, we're still top 5 there, and there's still 2 events left to go there as well. So there's still a lot to go for. So going down to Cork now, hopefully we've got attitude now, and we'll just go again and see what happens.
Yeah, like Jonny, like this year, like has been a good year. Like, yes, we know Killarney wasn't ideal, but like the Irish rallying now has got so competitive. Like even like a slide wide, like a puncher, anything, like it can drop you from battling from the 1 to being in the the lower reaches of the top 10. Like that's like it must be something else to be in the middle of all that battle.
I think it's a great time to be doing the championships, especially the rallying over here is very strong at the minute. And that's what you want from a championship. You want there to be a lot of competitors. You want there to be a lot of close battles throughout the field. And yeah, it does mean if you do run into some sort of issue like a puncher or something like that, it does hurt you quite a bit. But at the same time, I think the good thing is even when you'll always find somebody to race, which is good. I mean, even I know doing the Tarmac Championship even a couple of years ago, I always had this knack of on the Sunday ended up in no man's land where I had nobody really behind me, but the guys in front of me were half a minute up the road, and you kind of drove around Sunday kind of bored just driving around. But the last probably 2 years, 3 years now, it's been really competitive. So it doesn't really matter where you are in the top 10. You'll always have somebody to have a battle with at some point in the event, which I think makes it a lot more enjoyable. You can sort of go there and it doesn't really matter how much of a poor weekend you're having or a good weekend you're having. You'll always have somebody to battle with, which is good.
Yeah, and even the Northern Ireland Championship this year has been very much like that too. Like at the weekend you had Cathan and Desi, and earlier in the year, Stephen Wright and guys. Like, so, it's not even just at the top end of the championship. This is going right through. Like, we even see the national championship in Ireland as well. That there's great competitiveness right across the board.
I think so. It's really says a lot about the strength of rallying in the country at the minute, that basically any rally that's on is going to have a competitive field. There's no rallies you can choose. There's no rallies you can sort of look at and pick out, you can do a rally where there's not a whole lot of competitors, not a whole lot of R5 cars and things like that. You look at any rally, bar, of course, like some of the single stages don't allow the R5 cars. If you look at any other event that runs, it's always going to have 10, 15, 20 R5 cars at it, which is fantastic. I think it shows that the strength of the sport in this country, and also the sort of successfulness of the R5 category or the Rally 2 category as a whole. So I think it's a good time to be involved, a good time to be in the middle of it.
For sure, because even like a Fiesta, even an Evo 1 Fiesta, like probably 10-year-old now, like in the right hands, it may not be absolutely cutting edge, but it'll not be far away from and with a good driver behind the wheel.
Exactly. I think the class is so tightly regulated that you're not going to see massive jumps. Obviously, some cars have slight advantages over certain different parts of stages and certain different rallies, but all in all, the cars are very, very close. Even if you take what I sort of call the first evolution of the R5 cars, the sort of the older Citroens and Peugeots and Fiestas, they're not a million miles away from the modern cars. I mean, Gary proved that in Galway this year, and he was in the Mark 1 Fiesta, and he was right at the sharp end. So I think that's a good category, that it's not evolving too fast. It's not creating massive gaps like the WRC cars used to do, where the second evolution of the WRC cars were massively quicker than the first. So I think that's a good thing. It means it sort of brings that if you have as you say, a 10-year-old R5 car, you can still truck these rallies and be competitive, which is exactly what you want anyway.
For sure. And like Niall, even from a co-driver's point of view, like it has to be the attention to detail that makes the difference. It's not that that this guy has the latest spec WRC car and he's competing against guys. It's cars at 3-4 years out of date. Everything has to be, every I has to be dotted, every T has to be crossed before you go to an event.
Yeah, like your preparation before events too. Like at the minute now, I'm here getting ready for Cork and Ulster, and we're looking back right in the stage, right? What notes have we got from last year? Okay, Jonny, dig out these onboards. Let's look back at these, and everything has gotten so competitive now, and all these wee things help. And as you say, like every little thing extra you can do, or every wee bit more, it does help when we come to the stage. Is obviously going down to Cork now. For us, we probably looking back on Jonny, he wouldn't have done a lot of the stage we're going this year. We've blank books going down, but the Ulster, we're probably a more familiar territory. We would have done 3 of the stages now from last year, so we'll try and get them notes back to this, and all these things help, and like all the rest of the guys is doing similar as well. So it's just, as you say, it's so competitive. But for me, that's kind of a bit of the enjoyment too, because you get to dig out this stuff and see, I got that mark before Keith, or I got that mark before Andy. Oh, Andy, did you know this? No, I knew that before you. And you get in the lads' heads and mess about, and it's enjoyable too, like I have to say.
We keep coming back to it, as much, yes, you're racing against the clock, but the crack and the banter you have between the stages, like nothing like winding each other up, and we've seen that with Paddy Robinson earlier or whatever. There is great camaraderie between everybody.
Yeah, I suppose especially like in the Northern Ireland rounds this year, like obviously I would have co-driven with Desi before, and we'd know each other for years. Me and Paddy go back no time, and even in the tarmac championship there now, like even at the start of stages, and I guess when we went to Sligo as well, like Callum was down Sligo as well, and Marion was all over, and it was just the crack's been since Galway all year, like between all the stages and even outside the rallies, like the mess just flying back, and that's what you want too. You know what I mean? It makes the thing more enjoyable too, and it makes the weekends more enjoyable when you're going there, even if your things isn't going to plan, like the crack you're having with the boys, like it makes it all worthwhile too.
Yeah, like Jonny, like from you come to an end of a stage, you've given it your all, and like if some boy takes 5 seconds out of you, or you take 5, you know what you've done to earn that time. So you have to have the respect for each and every other guy around you.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, it's we've seen this year. There's been certain rallies that guys have went to and have just turned up, and it's been interesting to sort of sit there. You think you've done a good, as you say, you think you've done a good stage, and you come out at the end of it and you realize you're 5-10 seconds off the pace, and it does sometimes it does surprise you. And then the next rally you go to, you find you're in the mix. I think it's got that competitive now that you can't really afford to have an off day or an off rally, because if you do, you're just dropping down the order again. So I think it's good. I think it's what every championship should hope for. I mean, it's great having a good selection of people involved in the championship, and you're going to get a race everywhere you go, and it's going to be good natured and good fun as well. I think that's probably at the end of the day, it's for everybody here. It's still a hobby. It's still a sport. And I think you need that aspect of it to carry forward. I mean, it'd be a bit miserable if we're all competing and not talking to each other. I mean, it would be a bit of a long day. Like, so I think it does help. When you come home from the rally, it does help the whole enjoyment factor. The fact that you can go there and you can have a bit of crack with the guys and sort of, a bit of a slagging session and everything else you need to do. And it means when you it does make it more enthusiastic and make you want to go back again. So it's I think it's a good place to be in, and I'm really enjoying them out.
Yeah, because there is every rally you go to now, there's at least 10, 12 guys that at least are thinking they're going to get a podium out of this. like that speaks, again, we keep going back to it, the how competitive it is. And like, it's not that one make of a car, it's not one make of tire, it's just such a great spread. You have, the Fiesta, you have the Citroen, the Polo, Hyundai. The R5 Rally 2 category has just brought new life to rallying, full stop, not just Irish rally.
I think so. It's been. I mean, it took a while to get going. Obviously, back in the sort of 2016, 2017, when the first became the sort of top class in the Tarmac Championship. I think obviously a lot of people had their misgivings of sort of going away from the WRC car era after so long, where Ireland was kind of like at the top of the privateer WRC car pyramid, with the most amount of cars and stuff. I think there was a lot of people didn't understand the category and didn't understand the class, but to be fair, the guys that are involved in the championship, they took the big step at the time to go R5, and yes, it took a few years with the sort of the naysayers, if you will, trying to peg it back. But I think long term, it's been the most successful thing the championship's ever done, and hopefully the class stays similar to the way it is for another couple of years to come, and those sort of numbers and the strength of the strength and depth of the championship can stay going. I mean, that's throughout. That's NI Championship, Irish National Championship, Irish Tarmac Championship, everything really. I think it's a good system that gives you a car that, in theory, you can go and do pretty much any rally in Europe now on it.
Yeah.
And you're going to have the top car in that class. So to me, it seems like a winner.
Yes, for sure. And like, even, the introduction, the right-hand drive cars now is, last year they were able to score points. Like, you now have, like Gary Jennings has made the switch, Gareth McHale, Tim McNulty, and great to see, not just the, the young guns coming up through, but the older heads there as well, and setting great times as well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like some of the guys have come back out of the championship for a few years. Like you're saying about Gareth and stuff, and you can just see throughout the year the times getting more and more competitive as they go. As with anything else, being out of the sport for so long, it's going to take a while to even get used to the cars. Never mind being out of the seat for a while. So, I mean, I think that's the good thing about the class is that it's sort of proven that it's adaptable. You can come into the cars within a few rallies, you can get on your feet and running with them, and that's what you need. I think you need a great spectrum of everybody. You need the guys who've been out of the sport for a while coming back. You need the young guys coming in from the lower categories as well. And I think the whole thing just bonds together and makes for a great couple of rallies and great series. So yeah, hopefully it stays the way it is for a while. I know the FIA like to mess about with classes when their heart's content. So hopefully this sort of system will stay going for a while longer and we can sort of keep enjoying it.
Yeah, and now you were realistic now. Malcolm Walson's not going to come knocking at your door. Like, so to be out there with your mates doing what you're doing, it doesn't get better.
It definitely doesn't. And I suppose like even there, like we were just chatting to Rory Kennedy there the last day, and even he was saying like the way the R5 now is the most competitive rallying he's ever done. Which is, when you see even the cars he's been sitting over the years, and to be, as you say, to be doing that with such camaraderie on the stage and everything else like that. And like, I don't think Irish rallying's ever been in a healthier place. And just to touch on there, like you were saying about the competitors there, but when you see like the young ones coming up too, like you have young Caldwell coming up and a couple other guys like that coming up too. There's so much promise coming up to the field there too. And things is only going to get better and better. And the rallies are going to get more exciting as the times go on. And it's just fantastic time to be rallying, and like long may it continue.
Yeah, like we're not even touching on like the MI Rally Academy, what that's doing. But like even you mentioned there like Ryan Caldwell, Ryan Locher and Donegal. Yeah. Like there's continuation. It's not just the elite band. There's a conveyor belt building up here. Like, and never mind the Rally 4 category at the minute. Like, it's just mind blowing. Them guys are fighting, and like it's 3-4 seconds could be covering 4 of them.
Yeah, like as you say, even like the junior categories coming up in the Rally 3 cars there, like there's a lot of quick guys coming up to them classes as well. And I think that's a class now it's obviously going to grow stronger and stronger in the Tarmac Championship even next year, because I see a couple more of them cars coming into Ireland this year now. So hopefully that's another class, and that's the class you're going to be watching now for the real up-and-comers coming up as well. So it's a fantastic way that the sport is at the minute now too. And like, as I say, long may it continue. Yeah,
and like then I suppose we could start wrapping up, Jonny. Like, Is it see it out the Tarmac Championship, or have you any other thoughts really for the year ahead?
Well, yeah, obviously we're entering for Cork, and then the plan would be Cork, then the Ulster, and then pretty much all that's wrapped up by the end of August. So I don't really know what we're going to do after that. I need to find something to do. But obviously there's Killarney Historics in the start of December, sort of end of November, start of December time would obviously be a target for us. But yeah, there's the only downside of the round at the minute is we sort of have the NI Championship finishes in July and the Tarmac Championship finishes in August. So there is a bit of a condensed calendar, and especially the last sort of 2 months have been quite heavy, for events, which, in an ideal world you'd be more spread out than that. So it kind of means you get to the end of August and you sort of everything sort of comes to a stop, and then you wonder what to do next. So I don't know. We'll get to the end of August, and then we'll have a look and see where we're at and go from there. But I said there's might just be a time to just take stock and try and rebuild everything after that. But no, we'll just go and see what happens. And I say it's been a good season so far, so hopefully we can get another couple of rallies done before the end of the year and just go out and enjoy them, and hopefully have a few good results along the way.
Thanks to the lads there. Keep saying this. What other sport would you get a chance to talk to? The top tier. Directly after the event like that. There. Fantastic. Really appreciate them all taking the time. Then I also got a chance to catch up with Paul Woodford, who was over as part of the special stage team over covering the Down Rally from the UK, the part of that Pro Tire Asphalt Championship. Paul's first time in Ireland in all these years covering rallying. I found that so hard to believe, but to say he was impressed is to put it mildly. And then also we catch up with them, the Micra Challenge. We keep harping on about this Micra Challenge as well. I'm just fascinated by it. So we get a chance to catch up with Dominic Hodges and Damian Fleming from it. Paul, Down Rally at the weekend. What can we say? I think it's fair to say it blew your socks off.
Yeah, I mean, talking of blues, it's Tuesday. I've still got the rally blues. It had a little bit of everything, and it was my first time in Ireland, and it's somewhere I've always wanted to go. Don't ask me why I've not managed to get there, but I haven't, and now I have. It was really good. It was one of the best rallies I've done for a long time. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and he said, don't ask you why, but why? Why does it take you, you've been special stage presenter now for 12, 15 years. It seems almost impossible that you haven't managed to do an event over here before.
Well, if you think about it practically, the very lovely Breed Deary was my co-presenter, and of course, she's already over there. So when we were covering the Asphalt Championship in the first place, Breed was my co-presenter, so she would do the Irish rounds. I used to present a few of them for the highlight shows from a distance. And then this time around, Mark James is presenting the Asphalt Championship, and it just happens that I've dropped in for this round, one of the few rounds that I'm doing this year, which is great. And when we did the British Rally Championship a few years ago, I wasn't on location for some of the rounds, and it just so happened that every time it fell wrong. So.
But Lisburn, the whole town or city, really has taken the Down Rally to its heart. You see it right from the city hall, the way that the service area right in the middle of the city. That's what rallying should be doing. We don't need to be hiding rallying out in a deserted industrial estate out in the outskirts of town.
No. One of my best memories as a kid is, in fact, one of my earliest memories, I think, of watching a rally was the Northumberside stages in my hometown of Hull. And they used to start on a big start ramp like we had in Lisbon, next to the station in Hull city centre. The cars would roll off, drive through the city centre, and Roger Clark and his two sons, Ollie and Matthew, were doing the rally. And I just remember stood there, awestruck that this was happening in my city, where normally I'd be stood impatiently waiting for my mum to finish in the shops or whatever. Just brilliant. And rally cars on the road. It's just something so special. But the thing that really grabbed me, Kevin, on Friday night, we went to the ceremonial start. Now, it was lashing down. It was biblical. And we weren't looking forward to it because it was just so wet. And we thought it was going to be a washout. And we were just getting ready to go, getting the live cameras ready. And there was no one there. And I just thought, this is going to be a real damp squib. I'm not really going to want to show this off because it's not really the best light to show our sport in. Turned around a minute later, it's full of people. Umbrellas everywhere, kids everywhere. And they stayed right until the very last car, which was the blue rear-wheel drive Peugeot 205. Now, the stars, if you like, had gone through long before, and in most occasions, everyone would have disappeared off, but they didn't. the crowd stayed until the very last car. And it was just remarkable, the passion and the atmosphere you could feel, even though it was raining. And it felt like we were part of a community. It was brilliant.
Yeah, I think that, we're probably like so used to it now, we don't get the full go of it. But there's something very special about the rally community because, we've talked to other competitors and they say, if something happens the way that other competitors pull in around, and it's fantastic to see, the ordinary Joe public coming in and seeing what's so special about our sport.
Yeah, and I think that's what it's all about. I spoke to a few people. I've been really impressed with Lisbon City Council, Lisbon and Castlereagh Council, but particularly the people that run the social media, who I did meet, and John Laverty, who's in charge of regeneration for the city. They were just so behind it, and they were there. They were there flagging cars off, taking pictures, and the city itself made such a big deal of the rally on social media. And even my local rally in the championship, the East Riding Stages, the Reed Group East Riding Stages, first round of the series, did a really good job of getting lots of space, lots of great roads to use, and they used the city centre, the town centre as it is where we are. But the town didn't necessarily get behind it quite like Lisbon did this time. And that was what made it so different and so special.
Yeah, and to have you put wee videos there on social media, the rally cars driving in around, along with the normal traffic. You have some guy going out to buy a pint of milk and a Polo R5 trundling along behind them. That's the wee things that'll spark somebody else's imagination. That might turn out to be somebody that'll come along and marshal at another event. There could be a timekeeper in the making. We just don't know where these people are going to come out of.
Yeah, absolutely. I frustrated our producer Wayne Goldring because just as we were about to go live for the finish to do the interviews, I disappeared off because I wanted to get a shot of the top few cars driving through the city centre. So I was stood there. I looked to my right and there were 3 young kids, and I looked to my left and there were another couple of young kids, and there's me in the middle, and we were all just filming the rally cars in the city centre. And I realised at that point that actually I've never really grown up since that moment on the Northumberside stages, and I'm still excited by rally cars driving through the city.
Yeah, but this is our heroes. These guys, we, even to this day, I look up to the top guys or anybody competing that has the wherewithal to go and do the sport they love to do and compete at at any level. That's, you have to take your hat off to those guys because what they're putting on the line to go down that stage as far as they can, whether it's in a Polo or a Mark II Escort or a Starlet or a Mini,
Yeah, I did. The stages were awesome as well, weren't they?
Yeah.
Especially in those conditions, formidable. But that doesn't stop, for the most part, the rest of the sport going unnoticed by the majority of the population. So, there are awesome rallies all over the place. I mentioned the Reed Group East Riding Stages. I was so proud of that as my local event, and the Beverley and District Motor Club did such a fabulous job of it. But beyond the actual fan zone and the bit on the day, people around me didn't really know much about it, and there wasn't really any chatter about it. I stopped for a coffee when I got out of the airport in Belfast, and in the coffee shop I was wearing my Pro Tyre Motorsport jacket and had a programme under my arm, and the lady in the coffee shop wanted to talk about the rally, and she wanted to know where it was going and was what round of the championship was it. She knew who Jonny Greer was, and it was just incredible. I turned up at the council offices, and the lady sat behind the desk in the council offices there in Lisbon knew everything about the rally. She knew who I was. She knew that I was part of the TV crew because someone must have mentioned it, and she pointed out where I needed to be. And everyone just seemed so behind it. It just seems like such a big deal, which it wouldn't automatically be, even if, and the stages were awesome. It doesn't make it automatically a big deal to local people, does it?
No, it's the way that the community embraced it as well, as much as anything else. And then you mentioned the stages. Hamilton's Folly has to be up there with the best stages in Ireland at the very least. It's and then the weather conditions. We couldn't have predicted. On Friday evening you talked about the biblical rain. We were convinced it was going to be a washout on Saturday, but in fairness, it wasn't as bad as what we thought.
No, it wasn't. We were actually quite lucky, weren't we? It rained a little bit in stage 6 in Buckshead where we were, but I'm a bit disappointed because I went all the way there for the first time in Ireland, and I didn't go to Hamilton's Folly because Phil Bramall, my co-presenter, who, by the way, did a marvellous job from Hamilton's Folly, I've got to say. He got that one. So we got Buckhead, which actually was really good, the first part. And again, we were studying somebody's drive, and we were a little bit worried because the house wasn't occupied, and it was like, oh, do we park in this driveway? Anyway, next door neighbour came out, and he was like, oh, don't worry about them. They've moved out for the weekend, but they said it's fine. And he was like, do you want anything? And he even brought his dog out to introduce the dog to us, which was great.
Yeah, like, where else do you get it? This is it. Because like we often talk in this podcast about sport, the rally, and like for you, to go and see your heroes. But like even the guy that's running number 129 in the road, he's getting to drive the same stages as car number 1. That's like going to Old Trafford. You as a guy going out and kicking the ball about on a Sunday will never get that opportunity. Where you'll get to be able to do the same stages as your heroes. Like that's and then meet the people along the side of the road who will bring you a cup of tea, who will stand and have a yarn with you, and you'll always find the connection with those people.
The only place I've ever had that kind of community feel before on a rally has been Jersey. It was a similar thing. In fact, we were in a garden and they asked if we'd mind if they played croquet while we were filming, and they brought Pims out and everything. It was lovely. Didn't get croquet and Pims in Buckhead on the down rally, but we would welcome it at future rounds, of course. I mean, it's the Ceredigion next, so if anybody wants to bring us Pims, we will gladly welcome that with open arms. But no, it was just fantastic. And actually, you mentioned about car 129 or whatever. Actually, the guys at the back of the field, and I shared a picture of the Nova GSI because that was so impressive. The guys at the back of the field were just as on it as at the front of the field, and take nothing away from any rally entry, because as you say, everybody's paid their entry fee, everybody's pushing as hard as they are comfortable pushing, and it's always entertaining. It doesn't matter how fast the rally car's going. Rally car's a rally car on a rally stage, but more than any rally I've ever seen, the back of the field were pushing so hard. The Micra challenge was sideways in that first stage of ours. It felt like there was more jeopardy and more chance of some rearrangement of the local walls with car 125 than it did with the front of the field. Everyone was pushing so hard. It was brilliant. That's exactly what we want from Irish rally.
That's for sure. And you just mentioned the Micra challenge. That has been a revelation here in Ireland this year. Like it was two events on the circuits, 2 on the roads now, and then they're going to finish off the year with 2 on the gravel. And I think it's fantastic. They're all more or less the same spec cars. Some are wide bodied, some are just still the standard track. But I think it's class though. It's just brought a new energy to the championship.
Yeah, I mean, most of us started rallying in either a 205 GTI or a Micra, and in my case, it was a Micra, and they're just a really good car for rallying. They're so synonymous with the sport. You've had such big names. I mean, we saw the Nissan Motorsport colour scheme cars, didn't we? Stephen Whitworth and the guys, and Mark Higgins and people like that. We all played the games on the PlayStation. It was fantastic, and those cars have finally got a home. I must admit, I didn't know anything. I feel as guilty about this as I do about not going to Ireland before becoming 38 years old. But the Micra Challenge wasn't something I knew about until I started researching this event. And I just thought, where has it been all my life? Where has it been for the rest of this year? I've not seen it. Fantastic. And we had some of our guys over, Dominic Hodge, Stefan Arndt, our 2016 Rally First champions in the BTRDA, were out there in their wide body Micra. And I can see it really catching on. It could be something that does come over to England as well. And we have a few rounds in the Pro Tire Championship to mix and match. Really good. Yeah, and
the wide body car, they look so aggressive as well too, don't they?
Anybody who's watched any of our special stage coverage that I've been presenting knows that I have 2 very big, very nerdy weaknesses when it comes to rally cars. One is an Escort Cosworth, and by the way, we need an Escort Cosworth challenge next, please. The second one is the Nissan Micra kit cars, because Formula 2 and the kit car era that was when I was growing up watching rallying, and they're just fantastic cars. And I've seen some real giant killing and some real heroics in wide arch Micras over the years. I don't even care if it's not a real kit car. If it looks like one, that is good enough for me. And if there's 10 of them, then that's amazing. I'm in Micra heaven.
For sure. And the Pro Tire Championship has, as the last couple of years, it's really starting to gain momentum again. And it must be great from, your point of view. You've so much more now to talk about.
Yes, I mean the Pro Tyre. It wasn't the Pro Tyre then. I'm delighted to say it is now. But the Asphalt Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship was where it really kicked off for us on special stage, and we've done a few one-off events in the BTRDA. But the first full-time professional, if you like, gig we got was that one, and it was in the era of John Stone, Stephen Simpson, Melvin Evans, John Indry. And I'm pleased to say that, some of those characters, in fact, some of them you'll recognise from the Down Rally entry, some of them are still out there doing the business in the championship. And it feels like we've come on a real journey with the Pro Tyre championship. Paul Morris, Paul Wakely, and Donna Preston, the three coordinators behind the scenes in that championship. I posted afterwards actually in the WhatsApp group we've got for the championship. I have never seen three people work so hard behind the scenes, and people, volunteers, work so hard. Yeah. Take your hat, or every single one of them. But these guys just never switch off. They are constantly on it, and they do not stop until the job's done. And they care from start to finish. We go for dinner, and they're still on it. They're still sorting stuff. They're still, what can we do next? What we do in the next round? They were on the phone actually to Pat Marchbank of the Northwest Stages. That's not till next season. And Paul was on the phone to her while we were at dinner on the Friday night in the Indian. And it's just remarkable how hard these people have worked. And I think it's really just reward for them to see the profile that the championship is gaining. And it must be so good for the sponsors to have the coverage and the excitement that the championship has got back. As you say, it's really got its legs again. And, I'm delighted that Pro Tyre have got their hat in the ring, because they are absolutely the right name to have above our door. And all the other sponsors as well. Fantastic.
Yeah, because the live coverage, what your guys are bringing to a championship, that, it's taking it beyond the small circle. That's putting it live out there on social media, that the Joe public can come tune in and find out what's going on.
Yeah, and we saw that as a bit of responsibility on our shoulders, to be honest. When that technology first became available, we don't do it on mobile phones, and it's fine if people do. We wanted to make it as good a quality production as we possibly could, so that people did tune in, and the casual observers wouldn't just tune straight out again. And I mean, there's a behind the scenes feature coming up in the Seacon UK Rally Show, which goes out on special stage and on Sky and Freeview Channel Sporty stuff next Friday, the first Friday of every month. And it's a behind the scenes feature from the Kielder Forest rally, but it was just, we thought we'd better show you a bit of what we do, because we've got satellite uplinks. In fact, we had 2 satellites, 1 per stage at the weekend. We've got a myriad of equipment. Wayne Goldring has designed his own mobile studio, and we can't even show images of what's in it, because there's so much bespoke technology in there, which has just taken, basically 15 years of investment to get to this point. And it's just great to be able to do that, and to be able to string multi-cameras together, and to be able to have the sort of shots we had and do the justice to those fantastic Northern Irish lanes at the weekend. Brings it home to you, all the effort, all the research, all the planning, all the prep that goes into putting that coverage together. But yeah, the live coverage has really brought it to life. And, Matt Cotton and Bex Hinton as well from MCR Motorsport Media. They were there with Race and Rally again, doing the end of stage stuff, and they do a great job as well. It's great to be teaming back up with them. Don't often get a chance to team up that often on events anymore, but we used to a lot. It was great to be part of a really good all-round media package that seemed to go down really well with, hardened rally fans and casual rally fans and casual observers.
And you're getting the chance to tell the whole story. It's okay, you can see a car going down the stage, but Bex and Matt at the end of the stage, they're finding out, how the times, and did they have a spin before the scene, come into view with you or whatever. So it's telling the story of the event as it happens.
Yeah, and as good as our stage side coverage can be, I cannot possibly get a cheeky wink out of Claire Williams from the side of the stage.
There's only so much you can do.
There's only so much I can do. I mean, I like to think she is giving us a cheeky wink as she flies past, but I think she's got a bit more to concentrate on at that point.
Alan Carmichael will probably hope so, wouldn't we?
Yeah. If Claire Williams is giving us a cheeky wink as they go past us, something severe.
So where now for the Pro Tyre Championship? What's the remaining rounds now?
We've got 2 remaining rounds, the double header, because Otterburn was cancelled, unfortunately. The venue, hopefully we haven't lost, but certainly from this year's calendar we have because of military activity. But we've got 2 rounds on Rally Ceredigion, which some may remember when it first started a couple of years ago as Rally Bay Ceredigion. Again, cracking event. Mr. Dukes and his team do a sterling job, and again, it's an event that gets everything thrown at it. So it'll be a really fitting end to the championship. A double header as well, when we've got the title going down to the wire, will be exciting. You know, a bit like it did in the Manx. It'll add a little bit of strategy and drama to how the top competitors in all the classes play out that weekend. But yeah, it's going to be good. And actually, although Mark James is back in action, in his rightful place on the championship that weekend, I believe, we're also out. So we've got a few crews out that weekend. It's going to be a blaze of glory for the championship, hopefully, at the final round.
Excellent. Well, Mark, hopefully we'll be watching anyway and keeping an eye on it, and no doubt there'll be a story to be told, and you guys from Special Stage will bring that story to us all.
Yeah, we'll do our very best to make sure you do check out the Seacon UK show a week on Friday, because I believe that will have the Down Rally coverage in it. I'm sure it will. We've got enough time to edit it together before then, haven't we, Producer Wayne?
Yeah, sure.
I can't remember what the schedule is for that rally, and I've only just done the camera pieces for it. It definitely, there's some tarmac and some gravel in there, and it's going to be a good show. And thank you. I just want to say while we're doing this, because you'll have a lot of viewers who are in Northern Ireland, thank you to everybody who got behind the rally this weekend, and thanks for everyone to making all of us welcome, all of the Pro Time Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship crews, the TV crew, all of us, because we have had an absolute ball, and that is very definitely the first of many visits to your beautiful part of the world.
Excellent. Well, don't make sure it's not another 12 or 15 years before you return, Paul.
We'll do this in person next time,
yes,
shall we?
Absolutely.
I had so much time to kill when I got off the plane.
Yes.
Wayne was out wrecking the stages, and I just missed him. I didn't have a car, so I was just wandering around Lisbon, which was lovely, but I would have liked to have sat and talked rally cars, so we'll do that next time.
Perfect. That's a deal. So, walking along now, Dominic and Damian, he has competed in the Down Rally at the weekend and part of the Micra Challenge. Dominic, not your first time in the Micra. Was it your first time in Ireland?
Absolutely, first time in Ireland. That was a baptism of fire and then some. I mean, woo! Yeah, my history with Micras go back to the initial Micra Challenge back 27 odd years ago. When I first met Stevie Woodford, I was eligibility scrutineer for the Micra Challenge. Woo! That, shows my age and a bit of all the rest of it. But I made friends again with Micras about probably 7-10 years ago, when I wanted to get rallying again. Kids have grown up. Eventually they're now paying their way. Not too much of bank of mum and dad any longer. And got a Micra, and then met up again with Matt Humphreys of Oxford at the time, because initially he was a Nissan dealer, not any longer. He was then Seat and Mitsubishi, I think, something like that. So it's gone round a bit full circle. We had one or two interesting things. He came out, helped me, supported me, and it grew from there. The crowning glory for me was winning the Rally First Championship in 2016 with a Micra. That was quite interesting. Definitely want to, it's very amusing when you get young people like Damian coming up and I'm taking my helmet off and I've just beat him a couple of seconds in a stage. Dominic Hodge, and there's a definite face fall. And it's like, oh God. Yes. Then that car got sold, and I've ended up with this rather nice wide track. We've done a couple of 3 years in the forests, but it is expensive. Rallying is an expensive hobby. We all understand that, but boy, is it expensive. Yeah. So that's my history with Micras. Probably about 10 years owning them. They're lovely. They're nice and predictable. They are, I say, affordable. It's debatable where you're coming from, but you can get all the bits. Matt Humphreys is stunning because he helps look after the car. I don't say I have all the latest bits, far from it. but it's reliable, and that's the key thing. You know, you're spending lots of money entering a rally. The last thing you want to do is on the first or second stage it to go bang. I mean, that's just soul destroying. You go home and commit suicide. Not good. Not good.
Yeah. And Damian, we're well used to seeing you in the passenger seat, but you made the swap at the weekend. Like you started out as a driver a long time ago, but it's been co-driving for a good few years. But from this Micra challenge was the temptation to get you back in the driver's seat.
It was. I always wanted to go back out driving, Kevin, but it was never ever like it was always too expensive. I could never justify the money, like, and now it was navigating for me. And then when I heard this Micra challenge, it really grabbed me. Like, I was interested straight away because I'll always support anything to do with affordable rallying. Now, look, as Dominic said, rallying is very expensive. But this, for me, is definitely the most affordable way of rallying. Like, at the end of the day, you can go down to the scrap dealer and get an engine, like a block and a head. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're not going over to Ryan Millington and these boys spending thousands upon thousands. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah,
I heard about the challenge, and I ended up doing the Tour of Sparrons with Garrett Deasley. And I witnessed the whole thing, like, and I was really grabbed by it. No, I was interested in it, but I had no intention of buying a car until I saw Barry advertise the car, and before I knew it, I was in
you were
his car,
heading down the road with one.
and I had a Micra.
Yeah, like we know that the kind of the concept with the guys that organised it, the ones in Balnahinch Motor Club and all. It was the kind of thought process was to get a challenge up and running, try and attract young blood, that make it affordable. Not only is it attracting young blood, but it's getting old hands back into the sport again too, which is, like, from Dominic, from your point of view, you admit yourself you're not in your first flush of youth, but to go out there and compete against the young guys, it's great crack for everybody.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the thing that with any one make style series challenge is you've got rid of I can buy my way out of or into success. Damian's just said rallying is expensive, so it's learning and working how to get the best. It's my favourite value for money. How can I get, without whatever, value for money? And people say to me, why don't you have a quicker car? My response to that is, hang on, I get more seat time than you do in your quick cars. I'm sitting in my car going as fast as I can, and I have far more time in my car and therefore more enjoyment than your good gentleman in his R5 car going like hell down the road and finishing 10 minutes earlier than I do. What's the point of that? Plus, Damian said, you can go down the scrapyard, you can get an engine, you can rebuild it, all the technology is there, nothing is too complex, it can be done. One make championships are fantastic as a leveler.
Yeah.
Me, for being an old man, the car is easy to drive. I used to have a 205. 3 bumps, you're in a ditch with a 205. Everybody knows that. My brain can't keep up with that. With a Micra, it's predictable, it lands, it's square, and if it does do something, I haven't got mine set up like a go-kart. It's a bit softer. I can catch it. I can do something with it, and hopefully we don't end up looking thing. The weekend, third in the Micra challenge, stunning. I never anticipated that coming over here. Never. Yeah,
and like that's the great thing. Like it's affordable, yes, to a point, but it's everyone's out the same car. As you say, deep pockets. There's no benefit to you. Like Damian, for you, your first time out, you finished 4th. Like that, there's very few other categories you could step into and be at that. If you're in a class, say class 12, class 13, you would need to be out, nearly every weekend to be on that pace to even be inside the top 5. To come away with 4th, you have to be delighted with that.
I was very happy with that. I went there with the intention of just driving around and finishing, because first time left-hand drive as well. The stage was very tricky. Like, Hampton's Folly is a hairy stage for a first rally, like with all the bumps and jumps. But I must say, I always knew the Micras were good to handle, but I was very, very surprised with how good it actually was.
Yeah, and like you said there too, like how good they are to handle. This is the car that started Niall McShay, Mark Fisher, Stevie Woodford. Like the one make challenge is almost a no-brainer because it's where all the good drivers come out of. Like even the Colin McRae, Richard Burns, Ryan Champion. The list goes on and on and on. It comes out of a one make championship. It's a great thing for youth and for the experienced driver. That it's the car is the same as regardless of who you are or what you are.
And it gives you the chance then to compete at a somewhat affordable level against top drivers. Like Stephen Whitford, a very, very experienced top driver. David Crossan is also entered in the championship. I know he didn't start the last day. Philip Morrow. Like, usually if you want to compete against these guys, you need a couple of 100,000. Like.
Yeah. And Stanley Orr as well. Like a man has been there, done that, and got the t-shirt, So yeah.
And Dominic Hodge.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But I hope Stanley's okay. I heard he didn't start because he had a bump to his head. I hope he's recovered.
Oh, hopefully, yeah. But like what Stanley has done over the the last few years, is unbelievable. Stevie Woodford is a legend in these parts. And like for them to jump into a Micra and go out and have the day's fun, and like the same as yourself, Dom, like give the young guys a run for their money. It's fantastic, really, isn't it?
It's stunning. I mean, Damian, first time in a car and left-hand drive. I thought about left-hand drive car. Nah, I can. I've worked in Germany. I can drive a left-hand drive car, but not quickly. I'm either in the ditch or not in the ditch, and it's no good.
To be honest, I never wanted a left-hand drive car, but it's just the way it happened. Like, and to be honest, I actually don't think it's too bad. Maybe it's because it's a small car. Like I've sat inside in R5 cars, and there's no way in God that I don't know how they drive them left-hand drive. But anyway, the Micra, it seems to be handy enough to drive left-hand drive, to be honest.
And I have to say about the wide-bodied Micra, what an aggressive-looking wee car too. It looks the part. It looks like a rally car too. It's so many cars now that just like the new R4, even the Rally 3 cars. It just looks like an ordinary road car, where the Micra looks aggressive.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things for me. I always had a soft spot for a wide track Micra kit car, and it was actually gas when we bought it. We were looking at trailers, and I was told to get a small trailer, and we just said we'd measure. I said we'd measure the car before we get a trailer. And Rodney Stewart realised that the car was as wide as a modified Escort.
Like, so, Dominic, you've got your appetite with it now in the Irish rallying. There's still a couple more rounds of this Micra challenge to go. Would you be tempted to return?
I've got to have a look in my piggy bank. I don't know if my pension goes that far. I mean, the Downs rally was not planned at all this year. I mean, okay, Matt and talking to Steve a lot and selling parts and all the rest of it. And Steve said, "Come on, you can come across." And I said to Matt, "You should go across with a van and just go and see some of your customers. You've got a lot of customers over in Ireland. You should at least go and see them. If you don't want to go by yourself, I'll come with you." And that's all I said to him. And then it grew and grew. And he said, "Come on, I'll pay some money. You're coming with me." And I'm thinking, oh, bloody hell. And once you're in, you're in. So it's been a bit of a shock. It was quite a shock, because it was only taken, the decisions only made about 3-4 weeks ago of actually, okay, we're going to enter it, we're going to do it. Stefan Arndt has gone on to other things as a navigator. I was too slow in booking him up this year. He's got to drive in, basically, a works driving an R2 car in the BTRDA on the Forest, but he was willing to come out. It was his wife's birthday on the Sunday after the rally, so he flew back at 6 o'clock in the morning to get back home for about 8 o'clock. So, it was all a bit of a challenge. Am I tempted? Yeah, of course I'm tempted. Can I afford it? Sharp intake of breath. The only upside, well, the upside is it's forest. But the trouble is, I've sold all my forest stuff, having now decided that, I'll keep the wide track. We'll do this. I've got rid of all it. I've gone tarmac, even though we keep the forest suspension and all the rest of it.
And Dominic, you've no Lampard now for the bushwhacker.
Now, this is true. Do you want it? Is the question. I mean, I'll go and fetch it and get up here.
We're trying to get a deal. We're trying to get a deal done this Lampard.
Why is the bushwhacker at night?
There's 2 stages on the Friday night. Yep.
I'm going to waggle my head in a negative manner and say, fine, great. Maybe we come back and do Dan's next year, but I don't think anything more this year. It's an added complication with bringing a van and a trailer and all the rest of it. And is there any recceing done on these other 2 rallies, or is it just straight notes?
Straight notes, isn't it? Damian, there's no... Yeah,
straight notes. But you get the DVD.
Yeah.
Yeah, DVD off Patterson or the other guys.
So, like, Damian, you're looking for a light pod, so that take it. You're for the bushwhacker.
I wasn't going to do the 2 gravel rallies because I have a lot happening at the minute. I have the Tullamore show coming up, and I'm going to Greece. I have a family wedding in Greece, and we're also going to the WRC in September. So there's a lot going on, but I'm going to try. I'm going to try do both events if I can.
Yes. So
once I get the Lampard off Dominic now.
Yes. The championship has obviously pulled you in. You have been embraced by that. That family atmosphere, and I also believe that you helped to tow in what you call them, the Dowds. You could have been, and you could have been 3rd overall really at the weekend, but that shows the sportsmanship that's involved in rallying, that you were able to help somebody else, another competitor, to get to the finish.
Results have gone final, haven't they, Damian?
Yeah, but that's what rallying's all about, isn't it? Helping out your fellow competitor.
But it's like this, I saw him pulled in, and look, it was the right thing to do, good sportsmanship. He was the quickest man on the stages, and he deserved to be on the podium.
Yeah, for sure.
I pulled him up the street.
I was more than happy to cross the finish line in one piece.
Yeah, for sure. And Dominic, isn't that really? That's what you've been rallying and been about rallying for years. What other sport are you going to get that? And nobody else would do that for you in any other sport.
No, that's very true. It's the same as I pulled him up the hill to get over the finish ramp because he was worried about his engine. But yes, absolutely. And yeah, I could have been second. As Damian said, the fight takes place on the stage, is not on everything else.
Yeah. Thanks again there to the lads for that now. Then Imokilly was on last Sunday as well. For a mini stage event, it attracts the cream of modifying rallying, from across, Ireland again. Great to see. We have probably the strongest modified field there has been in years, and I don't know what the appeal is in Imokilly to bring them down, but they keep going back year after year after year. And what a brilliant result! To see Rob Duggan and Mikie Galvin going out, and for the 2 of them, it was fun, and they just seemed to just really, really enjoy the day. Must be frustrating for the other guys that's trying their hardest, but just to see the smile in their faces and the crack they had, and I'll let the 2 guys tell the story because it's a brilliant story.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was nice to get the first kind of, I suppose, overall win. I suppose I've won in Killarney and the historics and the modifieds, but first overall win at the rally. It was nice to get it, and a nice finish to a busy weekend for myself and Mikie. But yeah, lovely to be back to the winning ways in the Mark II, and 2 good results in Ravens Rock in here. So yeah, we're happy with progress so far.
Yeah, and against top line competition as well. It wasn't a handy one now on Sunday either. You have Eddie Doherty who's really come to the top of his game. Frank Kelly. The list goes on. There's 6-7 guys there. Jason Black, all guys that's at the top of the game this year. So it's good to see that you've been away for a while, but you haven't lost the edge.
Yeah, no, definitely. There was anyone there in the top 10 or 15 cars was very capable of winning, and we knew that going up there. I suppose we didn't have the best prep going into the Sunday morning, but look, we just said we go up and do what we always do, try and go hard from the word go, and see can we match the boys anyway on the first ones in the morning and see where we go from there. But it seemed to work pretty well. It was very calm in the car, and we seemed to have 2 fastest times on the 2 first stages, and it just kind of went from there. We kind of got some bit of a lead, and it was just a case of managing it then for the week, for the weekend after that. And yeah, it was pretty cool, calm and collected. We were under no pressure. Myself and Mikie just kind of go with the flow, and of course, when the helmet goes on, you want to go hard, but other than that, we were just out to have a bit of fun and finish off a good stag weekend for Mikie.
Yeah, like Mikie, I suppose if anybody doesn't know about this stage, you're getting married now in a couple of weeks. You had the big stag party on Friday night. Probably not the greatest idea to go rallying on a Sunday, but probably a good idea on paper. But then when it comes to reality, it's maybe not the smartest move.
Well, it was a good way to freshen up anyway. But it's very impressive how much coverage the stag and the wedding is getting. But I know we were good. We were out Friday night. We had a great time. Big group of best friends. And a couple of weeks ago, Rob asked me would I do the rally, and I said I would. Of course, I would, because we don't get that chance often for the 2 of us to rally. 2 of us started rallying 11 years ago actually now. We don't get that chance to go out very often now, so of course I grabbed the opportunity and said let's go do it. We knew what weekend it was going to be as well, but we said we'll be fine. But we had a great time, fantastic time in the car. We spent a lot of time in cars, but as I said, it's 10 years ago, so it's nice to come back and then to go out and win the rally was, you couldn't write it. It was brilliant.
Yeah, if anybody doesn't know the background, you guys started, years ago. Like you were in the same play school together, right through national school, right through. So that's that we hear often the saying "best friends rallying." Like you are that is,
exactly
that encapsulates just to a T, doesn't it?
Yeah, we were junior infants together, as was Noel O'Sullivan. If everyone doesn't know that by now, but we were all in junior infants together, and we were obsessed by rallying. So to be where we are now, I suppose, is a bit of a dream come true. It is something amazing, and it doesn't happen very often. Like me and Noel got to compete in the British Championship last year, and we were racing head to head all year, and now into the car with Rob, my other best friend, and go and win a rally. It's amazing. It's amazing. So, long may it last, and just keep enjoying it while we can.
Yeah, it's amazing. Probably there were maybe 20 of you, 25 in the class, and for 3 of you to become so successful in in your chosen sport, it's fun to hear though, really, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it happens, obviously. But it's good, yeah. It is fun, and we appreciate all the times that we get to rally against each other and stuff. We always have the crack and have the banter, and it's amazing, yeah. So if we can keep it going for another few years, we're aging a bit now, but we can keep it going for another decade. We'll be going great.
And then between the acting and the singing and everything else, it's getting to a point you're not almost have any time for rallying now.
I was asked a question at the weekend by another co-driver. He says to me, "What do you actually do for a job?" I'm actually not quite sure at the moment.
So Rob, we've seen this man's many talents, but his talent with a set of notes is second to none. Winning the British Championship, it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment to have somebody like that, your best friend, but somebody at the top of the game beside you, gives you great confidence as well.
Yeah, sure. Look, it just makes it easy. I just jump in and do my bit on my side of the car, and you just know everything else is being done on the other side. I suppose he'd probably kind of say the same. He didn't have to worry about my driving. I didn't have to worry about him calling, and it was just happened very easy. That was the good thing about bringing on Mikie. You just know things are going to be done. We're going up doing the radiator, and then you think that, oh geez, will you be able to do this? Will you be able to do that? It was just sit in. We got our road book out the door. We started writing notes, and after the first loop, Mikie was kind of saying, right, things are a small bit different here than Keith, and there's small little bits different in my notes to his notes that just clarified after the first run of Recce. It was right, what's this and what's this, and after that, that was it. It was just rolled all together, and there was never any bother. We just like that, I suppose if we put pressure on ourselves, it probably wouldn't have helped. But like that, we just went up with the whole thing. That look, it was the stag weekend. We were going up for a bit of crack. It was an opportunity to get out in the Mark II that I built, and yeah, it just kind of rolled all together. When you have a navigator like Mikie, you just roll with it, and then it just all happens without any effort, and it's that's very good that way. In fairness.
Excellent. And like you know your own car and all that there too. Because that's your second event back in that now since the rebuild. Do you feel that it's in the place now where you want it, or is there still more development on it as well?
A rebuild is a nice way to put it. Right? It was a bit more than a rebuild, but look, I've kind of got to the stage now where I'm playing with different bits and pieces of it. We've obviously have a new steering kit there from Group 4, which is brand new out, and we won the 2-wheel drives in Ravensrock with it in its first day out. It's the first win overall on its second day out, so that's obviously working pretty well. We've a couple of small bits and pieces that I'm just playing with the car that I never really, leading up to Donegal that time, I kind of never had the chance to just play with the car. I always got in a battle and said, I don't want to change too much now because I know what it's going to do. Yes, it might be 100% right, but it's fine. I can drive it, and we're thereabouts. And I never really played with it, but even Ravensrock, we played with a lot of settings up there. Played around with a good few bits before this weekend, and we're just fine-tuning the car to the way I want it. Yes, of course, we want to go fast and win rallies, but I'm still trying to play with it as much as I can, play with the settings, and just try and get it really dialed in to a comfortable. It's not like it's going to get a whole pile quicker, because the pace of the Escorts at the moment are nuts, and there's no denying that. It'll just get that little bit safer to go at that pace. Mm-hmm. Even the likes of Mikie, he could pinpoint things the weekend that we tried to help improve over the weekend, and it's great just to have the likes of Mikie. George the same up in Ravensrock. We just pinpointing small things that we were trying to get slightly better with the car, and we've ordered a couple of bits now today to try and improve again for whenever we're next out. And yeah, if I can keep improving it and make it that bit, I won't say safer, I suppose, but just that little bit easier to go quicker. Yeah, definitely. I'll keep improving it, but it's getting pretty close. It's nearly where I want it.
And like Mike, from your point of view, it's been a couple of years now, or a few years now, since you sat at top line Mark II. Like
4 years, yeah.
Yeah, like how do you see a big difference even in that short time as well? Like,
yeah, like it's those cars by no means are they easy to drive, I'd imagine. I've never got to drive one, but from what I can see, you know what I mean, it's not a given just to be able to go in and drive those cars. So, fair play to all the lads, and especially Rob, because he's always able to keep a handle on those things ever since the start. But there's something incredible. It's just a different world completely for me from what I'm used to. The R5 car is just a completely different thing. You have the top speed of the Escort, and you have, the looseness of it, and you don't necessarily have the same braking power, but the speed is higher. So it's just bizarre. But you know what? It's never as wild as I imagined. Even 4 years ago, and again this week, I'm going, oh my God, this is going to be so wild and crazy. But you know what? It never is as much when you get in. It's way more controlled when you're in there. But they're so impressive. I'm always just blown away by those cars. Just how they're moving at such, high speeds. But all those lads, all of them are fantastic drivers to be able to hold on to those things.
Yeah, for sure. And as I said there at the start, Rob, you have the likes of Eddie Doherty now coming through. There's always new guys coming along, and that's pushing the level up as well. And for the likes of yourself, to be involved in that and be nipping at these guys, taking a couple of seconds off them here, losing a second here, that must be what rallying's all about for you at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely a lot of young guns coming up. I nearly feel like I'm the older side of it at this stage now, which is
we are, Rob. We are.
I keep telling myself we're young, but the likes of Conor Murphy, there's just a huge bunch of young lads coming up there, and look to be able to fight with them. I thought, geez, I hope I can do it for another good couple of years now. But no, it's not slow, and when you look at the times over the 6 stages last day, I think there was no there was no one that got a big chunk ahead, or there was no one in the top 10 that fell behind. There was a couple of stages there where we were all within 3, 4, 5 seconds of each other, 10 people. Like that's amazing racing over the likes of 15 kilometers there, or 13 kilometers, with everything in the stage is really fast, really slow, mucky, slippy, grippy, bits of everything, and we can come out and we're only maybe 5 seconds separating 10 cars. Once it keeps going like that, I keep rallying. The minute that disappears, and that I suppose the racing feeling, the camaraderie between every one of them. There was 1 or 2 lads in a bit of bother the weekend, and there was no hesitation by anyone. We were all straight back in under the car, trying to diagnose it the best we can, try to fix it, get them going if we can at all possible. Frank Kelly told one of the lads there to the start of the next stage. It's just there's no one wants to see anyone left behind, and that's the really important side of it. I think it's okay. We all want to go in and bait the heads off each other when we put on the helmets. There's no denying that, and anyone that denies it is only fooling themselves. But when the helmets come off, look, we all want to enjoy it, and we all want to be safe at the end of the weekend. And it's great. It's great racing. We came off the last stage and we were just laughing at the whole thing, like it's what a race all day, and just great crack between everyone, and long may it last.
Yeah, like Mikie, like Frank Kelly, heard him saying like that at one stage in service there was 5 or 6 guys on below his car. He hadn't a clue who they were, but they were helping him change his diff. Like where else would you get it?
I think Ireland really is where it's at for all that. I mean, Rob, correct me if I'm wrong. Like the modified scene is something else. It's like nothing else. There's great camaraderie in the R5 scene and all that, but the modified scene is just something unbelievable altogether. The crack and the laughing is unreal. But they are all like brothers and sisters, But the likes of towing people in and under the car, getting dirty and destroyed, and there's no fear of touching a brand new suit off an exhaust. Like it's just everyone is airing in there, yeah.
And like Rob, like what makes Imokilly so special? On paper, it's like a mini stage event, but it attracts the cream of Irish rallying of 2-wheel drive. Like you had the best of the best there at the weekend. What makes that event so special in your eyes?
Well, for us and Ed, and I suppose speaking for Mikie as well, and all our team that has ran me, Donald Healy Motorsport, from when I started rallying, Donald O'Brien, who we sadly lost a couple of years ago. There's a cup for him it was for the fastest stage time, I think, the first year, and it's for the first overall Mark II home, I think, no. And that was kind of the big one going the weekend, and I'm still friendly with his daughter and his brother and all their family would know us as well. So it was a big thing going up the weekend. They telling me, the cup is for the overall Mark II, and as much as I'd like to say, it was all a bit of crack into the whatever, we still wanted to go up and win the cup. I narrowly missed out on it the first year in Colin Byrne's car. It was for the quickest time over some stage, and I got pipped for it, and I didn't get a chance to go back and try and go for it since. So that was a big thing. And also the Paul Mulcahy trophy. They're just all small things, but Paul Mulcahy was a legend that we would have looked up to, and the starlet that was like a pinnacle of any rally that he went out in. We were glued to that, and I suppose winning a trophy with his name on it, it's a big thing for us too. It's just like our childhood heroes growing up. That's who we were looking at, and when you get to win a trophy with their name on it, it just makes it that bit more special. Yeah, it's only a mini stage, but
here next
no matter what, you come out of the rally with trophies like that, it definitely makes it more special.
Yeah, Mikie, like from your point of view, as Rob was saying, childhood heroes, to follow in their footsteps, to get presented with trophies with their names on it, like that's a good day out.
It is, yeah. All these guys we're talking about are fantastic guys, and we've lost a lot of people this year as well. But it's nice to get these things. We were the day that Paul died. Actually, me and Rob were rallying. It was probably one of our last rallies, Rob, together. I'd say back that time, the Ravens Rock in 2013. So to come 10 years forward, after that day, and to win the trophy, it's just mad, yeah. And his wife and son was there, and Paul Og, who gave us that trophy, who can't be much more than 10. So I'd say he was very, very young when he lost his dad. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I suppose, like, all we can say now is, Mikie, all the very best now in a couple of weeks. And Rob,
thank you very much.
Now you've got the taste of the champagne. Where do you think you'll head out now next? Is there no plan really at this point?
No real plan now. I have a small bit of work to do to the car. Just keep on top of things now, rebuild axles and keep clutches right and get the engine looked at just to make sure everything is good. Everything was perfect the weekend, but yeah, just kind of get things back up to scratch so we're not breaking down on rallies and stuff. We might make a trip out foreign. Not 100% sure yet. We're kind of looking into it at the moment, so maybe something there. Killarney at the end of the year, I suppose it's going to be hard to stay away from. But other than that, I don't think there'll be much for the rest of the year really, unless the lotto comes off anytime soon. I'm currently trying to put up walls of a house at the moment as well. So yeah, it's hard to do everything. But look, we're looking into a couple of bits, but there won't be anything huge. Where Mikey's wedding is the week after the 20th, so. Yes. We'd have to stay away from that. Yeah.
Do you have to dig all the dirt and him for a nice speech they got there?
Yeah, there'll be a bit of work in that. But anyway. Look, I have no championships or anything, so it's just take it as it comes. Whatever looks kind of doable and that'll be a bit of fun. I'm game ball for that. I've kind of done the whole championship thing with the WRC and doing all that, so I'm just picking and choosing what looks fun at the moment. And like the weekend, it just looked like a bit of crack, and it suited well with Paulie and the weekend that it did. And yeah, we went up, had a bit of fun, came home, washed the car, put it into the shed. That's what it's all about. And if I can organise another weekend to do that, then I'll happily pull it out again. But yeah, we'll see.
Excellent. Well, lads, thank you very much for taking the time, and as Mikie, all the best in a couple of weeks then.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much for having us on.
Connor, like, what a story from them two guys. Isn't it just great to, hear such joy in them when they're discussing their day's fun on Sunday?
Oh, look, and absolutely, like, fun's the only way you could describe it. There was nothing serious about that.
No.
Yeah, they really did have a ball.
That's for sure. That is for sure. This weekend's quiet in the rally in front, but we have the Cork 20 coming up, we have the Ulster coming up, we have the next two rounds of the National Championship. So there's still a lot to go on here in August. So it's great to be back. Thanks once again for all your kind comments, listens, and all that. There, please keep it up. Please like, share, subscribe, rate, comment. All those things vitally important, Connor.
Oh, listen, absolutely. What do you call it? All the numbers help. What do you call it? Boost the podcast, and I suppose the more it gets boosted, the more people get to hear and see it for the first time.
For sure. Before we finish up, once again, like we spoke to quite a lot of competitors over the last couple of weeks with different events and one thing and another, and every one of them, they find it so hard to put into words, the emotions they felt over the last couple of weeks. As you said earlier, it's been a difficult year for Irish rally, and so we just once again we want to express on behalf of everybody we spoke to. They said, "Can you please say something on the podcast?" Just again, just our thoughts, prayers, condolences with all involved. We can't but only wish you the very best, and we're in our thoughts and prayers at this difficult time. So that is this episode, and so until the next time, take care, speak soon, and bye.